Witamy w Cambridge International Szkoła.
One of the big differences about CIS is that we are a small school and we pride ourselves on the fact that we know our students so well.
We have a primary school at Cherry Hinton, just on the outskirts of Cambridge. We have a school in the Abingtons, and we call that the Temple. This is where we educate our seniors, and those children range in age from 11 to 16, year groups 7 to 11. There's actually a fourth site in the centre of Cambridge, in Bateman Street, called Innes House. This is going to be the site for our sixth form, which opens in September of 2016.
I like living in Cambridge because it's a very beautiful city.
You only have to come and look at the physical building to see that we just don't look like any other school. We try not to act like any other school.
It's a place where everybody is accepted for who they are, and we want to bring in people's strengths and ideas and use them to make it a very rich and inspiring place to be.
We have a very rounded approach to education. So we're looking also at developing life skills and helping children become sort of responsible world citizens.
What is different about CIS coming from other schools is its family feel. It's got a very nurturing feeling to it, and I think when I first visited the school I was struck by just hearing laughter everywhere.
We are a non-selective school, so we have children from all sorts of backgrounds and different abilities.
They really care about you, so they really want to know how you're feeling, if you're doing well and if you're enjoying lessons and everything.
A few years ago we were very lucky to take a group of students out to Egypt to learn to dive, and next term we are taking a group of students off to New York where they're going to be studying media studies.
It's an environment which people feel comfortable in very quickly and feel a part of the school very quickly and feel valued very quickly, and they then also help to value other people and make other people feel welcome.
你好，欢迎来到剑桥国际学校。
Здравствуйте и добро пожаловать в интернациональную школу Кембриджа.
Ciao e benvenuti a Cambridge International School. Hello, welcome to Cambridge International School.
ในแต่ละปีมีผู้สนใจกว่า 2 ล้านคนจาก 90 ประเทศเข้าสู่สนามสอบระดับสากลคือหลักสูตร International General Certificate of Secondary Educational หรือว่า IGCSE ซึ่งถูกจัดทำสำหรับนักเรียนที่มีอายุระหว่าง 14-16 ปีให้ได้รับวุฒิการศึกษาระดับมัธยมศึกษาตอนปลายซึ่งเป็นเงื่อนไขสำคัญสำหรับศึกษาในระดับชั้นที่สูงขึ้นอาทินำไปใช้ศึกษาต่อในหลักสูตร AS A-Level International Baccalaureate หรือว่า IB หรือเพื่อศึกษาต่อระดับมหาวิทยาลัยสำหรับประเทศไทยการสอบผ่านหลักสูตร IGCSE และ GCE O-Level ผู้สอบสามารถนำผลที่สอบได้ใน5รายวิชาที่ได้ไม่ต่ำกว่า4ไปขอเทียบวุฒิการศึกษาและนำเอกสารการเทียบวุฒิยื่นสมัครศึกษาต่อในมหาวิทยาลัยได้วันนี้รายการ Education Today ได้รับเกียรติจากดร. เบน เชอร์มิด Cambridge Regional Director of Southeast Asia and Pacific และคุณเฮนริช ฟัวเรีย IGCSE Coordinator ที่มาร่วมพูดคุยและให้ความรู้เกี่ยวกับการศึกษาที่ Cambridge International การเตรียมเยาวชนให้พร้อมสำหรับโลกนี้จะเป็นอย่างไรนั้นไปติดตามชมกันค่ะ
So what does education really means to you?
At Cambridge International, we think that education is about getting young people ready for the world.
Okay.
And for us, that means in particular that our international education programs enable students to study at the best universities worldwide and then pursue a successful career in a global society.
Okay.
And for that reason, we also stress what we call the Cambridge learner attributes. We want young people to be confident, innovative, engaged, reflective, and responsible. And that is, I think, how we prepare them to be what we call university ready, work ready, and then world ready.
Very important, right? The world ready and also work ready, because that's very critical in the stage, especially in the development of education in the country like Thailand. What do you see learners from, well, Cambridge starts at Key Stage 1, so that's about 5 years old.
Yes.
Right? Where do you see education begin, and how does it, what's the approach or the teaching methodology that needs for that level of the age group?
You're right, that learners with the Cambridge International programs follow a program from primary school into university.
Right.
And we call it the Cambridge pathway, because it goes into certain stages, building from primary and then all the way to IGCSE and the Cambridge International A-levels. And regardless of whatever stage they are on that Cambridge pathway, our students are engaged in what we call active learning. And active learning means that students are actively engaged in their learning, in the curriculum content, and that they take responsibility for their learning. With regards to the teaching methods that stand behind that, it can be a wide range, and we give schools really flexibility to choose which pedagogies suit them. It could be any of the learner-centered approaches. It can be inquiry or problem-based approaches. It can be experiential or discovery learning. What all these have in common is teachers understand that they cannot simply give information or knowledge to the student. The student is not a vessel that we can simply fill and pour our knowledge into, but rather, as a teacher in the Cambridge approach, we need to provide learning opportunities for the students that allow them to engage with the content and to take responsibility to develop their own knowledge, skills, and understanding. And perhaps I can give 2 or 3 examples of what that could mean for a teacher. We find, if we look at across the Cambridge schools, that teachers use methods such as a methodology that we call scaffolding. They use assessment for learning, and they also make sure that learning is placed in a relevant context. So scaffolding means that teachers will always encourage students to take the next step on their learning journey, and that while doing so, they give them the support and the guidance that they need, because taking the next step beyond what they already know is a step into the unknown, and that can be a little bit scary, but we encourage them to take that step, and then we support them. That is what we mean by scaffolding. The second one was assessment for learning, and by that we mean that teachers in Cambridge schools will regularly give feedback to their students that will tell them what they already can do and then what they want them to try to achieve next, right? And finally, placing learning in a relevant context. We find this really important, but it's about making a connection between the textbook and the real world. And that enables students then to understand why they're learning this in the first place and how to apply it. And all of these are examples of how we support students to become really active learners.
When to assess students, you assess at the end of Cambridge 1 as well, or do you start assessing students with the national assessments at the end of IGCSE? Where do you start?
From the Cambridge side, we provide what we call formal central assessments by exams at the end of the primary stage already, typically in year 6 of their school, then at the end of the lower secondary stage, and then at IGCSE, where students are typically 15 or 16 years old, and finally as a school leaving examination, which is called the Cambridge International AS and A levels. All of those assessments are exams, which means that they are prepared by our colleagues in Cambridge, and they are the same across the world. So it's a unified global standard that is the same across all 10,000 Cambridge schools worldwide. And they are sat at the same time and then marked centrally in Cambridge so that we have a very consistent and valid standard, and students get an accurate assessment of what they can do. But that is what we call summative assessment. It's an assessment that comes after a whole long period of learning and tells them, in summary, what they can do and tells them to proceed to the next stage. assessment for learning, sometimes also called formative assessment, is something that goes on in the classroom and is often more called feedback, as you know, of course. And that is what we also encourage, because the curriculum from Cambridge describes a very natural sequence of learning objectives. And that enables teachers to very precisely tell students, you already can do this, this, and that. Well done. Now the next step for you is try to achieve this one.
Okay, in your opinion, should, let's say the student is studying IGCSE, should the ultimate goal be to pass those exams, or should it be more of a collaborative atmosphere?
Definitely a collaborative atmosphere. We find that schools that overly focus on exam success are not the best schools. In fact, we find that the very best schools regard exams as a byproduct of learning, exam success as a byproduct of learning. The best schools always focus on learning, first and foremost. In fact, we've just developed what we call Cambridge Quality Standards for International Schools. And that asks only one question: is this school effective at teaching and learning? And it allows schools then to assess themselves across a wide range of different criteria, but it's about, is this school good and effective at teaching and learning? That's what it's about. Exams then follow.
So coming back to the teaching and learning, and teachers, as we all know, is the heart of the main vehicle of delivering quality education. How does Cambridge, what is the view on developing teachers or train them? Is there any particular program that will support that?
I think that the development of competent teachers is one of the most important tasks that we have in the international education opportunity and in the international education world. And it's about providing opportunities for teachers to develop themselves, because over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll need tens of thousands of additional teachers to deliver and meet the demand for international education across the ASEAN community alone. And I find that typically two things are needed. We cannot continue to rely on expat teachers from English-speaking countries to make up 100% of the supply of teachers in international schools. It is very important to develop a local workforce, and that typically means two things. Number one, it's about English proficiency. So teachers can and should develop their English and have a career path in international education, which can be a very exciting opportunity for them.
Yes.
And then they need to recognize that often education in an international context is different from what they perhaps knew already. And that has to do with active learning on the one hand, actively engaging students in their own learning. But it also has to do with the fact that they often need to have additional language awareness. Because if I teach students in English in a language that is not their native language, then that means I teach in a bilingual context. And in a bilingual context, we have this saying, every teacher is a language teacher. So even if I deliver physics or economics in your case, I do also need to teach students the language.
True. That is very true, yeah. I see that on a daily basis when you teach the students. The students sometimes refer to certain concepts that we see as like it's native to us, and for them it's extremely difficult to understand those concepts. So what is the vision of Cambridge in both primary and secondary school?
Our vision is simple. We want to get students ready for the world. And one thing that we have is Cambridge International is the only truly global network of schools. There are 10,000 Cambridge schools worldwide offering the Cambridge pathway to their students in more than 160 countries. And in all of those, the motto that we live by is learn, discover, achieve. And that means we want to get students to learn what they need to know, and in doing so discover their true potential, and then achieve success at university, at work, and in the world. That's our mission, get students world ready.
Is that why Cambridge offers such a large variety of subjects? I mean, at IGCSE level alone, you offer more than
70 different subjects. And you will find that Cambridge International offers more subjects than any other exam board or education provider in the world. The reason that we do that is that we believe at primary and lower secondary level we need to set a foundation. So typically there the emphasis in curriculum and assessment terms is on English, Maths, the Sciences, and we're now also offering a very exciting new subject that's called Global Perspectives, and then there's ICT. Then at IGCSE level, where students are typically between 14, 15, 16 years of age, we offer a really wide variety of different subjects, and schools can choose which ones are right for their students. So there's a lot of flexibility, but typically it would be around 5 to 10 different subjects with Cambridge. And that allows students to explore a breadth of interest and have a really good grounding. Exactly. And then what happens in the transition to A-level, students are allowed to specialize a little bit. Not too much, it should be balanced, but we find that approximately 3 to 4 subjects in the last 2 years of university education to study really in depth is a good thing, so that then they can already, we ask them and challenge them to commit to a certain extent to what they want to do later on in life and to think about that. And that allows them to go really in depth in those subjects and be very well prepared for university. In fact, you will find that all of the top universities in the United States, when they admit students with good Cambridge A-levels, they say, actually, in your last year of school, you already studied what we ask our students to study in the first year of university, and therefore they give them what is called advanced credit. It means they don't have to study that anymore, which means they can accelerate through university. Our studies show that they're more successful, and last but not least, it also saves them a lot of money.
So it's a shorter period of time in the undergraduate program.
And
yes.
No, I just want to say that is very true, because when I compared in my subject field, economics, universities such as Thammasat and Maidan, I looked at what they teach the students in the first year, and that is more or less exactly what I'm doing now with my IGCSE students. So I can see how the universities can give credit to those students.
Coming back to the topic of education, and you've been involved with education within the region, Asia and Thailand. What do you think the future of education in this region should be? How should it be?
Every country in the world really needs to prepare the young people for a global society. And I find that across ASEAN, every country and people in every country realize more and more that bilingual education has a really important role to play in that. And from Cambridge International side, we very much support that through the flexibility of our programs, through guidance to teachers. And it means that bilingual education, students will study some subjects in English, an international curriculum with Cambridge, and other subjects in their native language according to a national curriculum. Here in Thailand, for example, Cambridge International started many years ago with the large international schools that were largely for the children of foreigners. But more and more, we find that Thai parents want an international education pathway for their children. And that means schools, whether English program schools or university demonstration schools, offer bilingual programs, some in English, some in Thai. And the Cambridge curriculum is flexible enough to adapt to local circumstances and conditions, to combine with other curriculum. And what I find is important in Thailand for international education is that we need to preserve the Thai spirit and culture, language, history, values, community engagement, and so on, while being open to the wider world. And that is something that from Cambridge International we really want to support with bilingual education. For example, we offer an IGCSE program in Thai language. And I believe that that is also really important across other ASEAN countries.
So it's not just competency in the English language, it's the fluency in maybe 2 or more languages that's important, or that you value as a Cambridge philosophy.
We will find more and more that people who are monolingual are not going to be most successful in a global society. And I think English is the language of not just one country. It has become the global lingua franca, the language by which the world talks to each other. And that does not mean just the global economy. It means that more and more we must be aware internationally. Cambridge International programs are not for students who want to leave the country. Yes, if they want to do that, they can do so. But if you stay here in Thailand and you want to make an impact, make a real contribution to society at a larger level, want to have a good career, You need to have an international mindset. You need to understand what people in other countries are about, and you need to be able to converse with people in English. And not just at the street level. You really need to understand difficult concepts of your own discipline and of global politics and society in English, but also in Thai.
Yes.
That's important.
True. And I think if that's something really good about the Cambridge program is that it prepares our students to study abroad, if they wish to study abroad, but also it's available for them to study at top universities inside of Thailand as well, which I really enjoy about the Cambridge program.
And they could really become global citizens, right?
True.
That is right. And we aim to set a standard that is internationally valid. So if you study physics, for example, then we set a standard that will be good for you whether you study in the United States, in Australia, or here in Bangkok.
Yeah.
True. What role does education play in human resource development?
If we talk about human resources, then we look at people from the perspective of economics. And yes, Cambridge International's programs help students later on in life earn a good living, make a valuable contribution to the economy. But education is a lot more than that. That is why we have the Cambridge Learner attributes. We want young people to be confident, innovative, engaged, reflective, and responsible. Young people need to become not just contributors to economy, they need to be responsible and engaged members of society. That's what the Cambridge Learner attributes are about. And yes, Cambridge International programs and these attributes help students be successful in the economy, but more importantly, it's also good for their life.
Okay.
That's very good.
Is there a direct link between the success of students at university level and students that successfully completed AS levels in Cambridge?
We know from many years of experience speaking with students that have gone to university after Cambridge A levels that that is so. But we've also looked into that in a bit more detail. And we've asked, for example, university admissions officers. They're the ones who choose who gets to go to, in this case, the very best universities, and then they track their progress and success. And they have told us in a survey, literally 98 to 100% of the top university admissions officers say that students with Cambridge International A levels have the content knowledge and the skills that they need to succeed at university. And importantly, that they also have the 21st century skills in terms of teamwork, collaboration, presentation, and research skills that really sets them up for success at university. Because it's not only about getting into university, it's also about getting on, being successful once you're there and in the wider world of work. But we've also conducted studies where we've compared cohorts of students at, in this case, in Florida, where we took a cohort of students with Cambridge International A levels, students with the IB diploma, and students that did advanced placement. And we found that the students with Cambridge International A levels were more likely to complete their degree. In other words, far fewer of them dropped out. They were more likely to undertake honors degrees. And they were also more likely to engage in real research already at an undergraduate level. And finally, they had more highly developed 21st century skills. So the students with Cambridge International A levels in that cohort in Florida was more ambitious, more successful, and ultimately, I would argue, more prepared later for after university, the world of work.
Very good. Is there any last note that you would like to add in terms of education in Thailand? What steps do we need to take? What are any urgent steps that we need to take to meet the 21st century education?
What I would really like to see us as the Cambridge International community in Thailand develop is a truly Thai-specific approach to international education, one that preserves the Thai spirit, that allows Thai students to study an international education, be fluent in English, without any fear that they might be losing their roots or that they might become alien to their own community. What I want them to be is as fluent in English as they are in Thai, that's the baseline, and to be as open about international and global developments as they are engaged in their own country and the spirit of Thailand.
So you want them to become truly bilingual individuals?
Absolutely right, yes.
Well, thank you very much for your presence today. It means a lot to the program, to the school, and also to education in the country.
thank you very much. I'm really happy to talk with you today.
Thank you.
การนำเทคโนโลยีที่ทันสมัยมาเป็นเครื่องมือในการพัฒนานักเรียนให้สามารถค้นหาข้อมูลโดยการจัดการเรียนการสอนภาษาอังกฤษและภาษาไทยระดับอนุบาลระดับประถมศึกษาและระดับมัธยมศึกษาสุดท้ายนักเรียนต้องมีความชำนาญในการใช้ทั้งสองภาษาในระดับที่เท่าเทียมกันในขณะที่ทุกวิชาต้องมีการจัดการเรียนการสอน2ภาษาที่แท้จริงด้วยการสอนที่เป็นคู่ขนานกันไประหว่างภาษาไทยและภาษาอังกฤษเป็นต้นรายการ Education Today หมดเวลาลงแล้วพบกันใหม่ในสัปดาห์หน้าทุกวันเสาร์เวลา 10 นาฬิกาถึง 10 นาฬิกา 30 นาทีทางสถานีโทรทัศน์ News 1และนี่คืออีกหนึ่งรายการคุณภาพจาก RSU Wisdom TV ทีวีแห่งมหาวิทยาลัยรังสิต